Hey everyone, Cacophonous Corfish here. With Pokemon Scarlet and Violet right around the corner, a lot of fans must have wish lists for features they'd like to see brought back from previous Pokemon games, as well as new features that haven't appeared before. And let me tell you, we have a long list. I say we because I made my list with help from another Poketuber. Please give a warm hey to Mialodic.
Donkey. It was great thinking about the possibilities that can be unlocked in future Pokemon games and be reminiscent of old features that were well appreciated. We also made a video over on my channel, so be sure to check that out after this one.
We've opened this list to features that were either scrapped from older Pokemon games or have never existed in the series at all. Also, let me make this clear. This is not a list of features we want in just Scarlet and Violet, but in any future main series Pokemon games to come. And this is all just our opinions, so at the end of the video, be sure to let us know some wanted features from your wish list in the comments. So, in no particular order, these are the top 40 features Mialodic and I want to see in future Pokemon games.
An area that you can see other trainer photos, achievements, or even spectate battles in game, or hear other trainer stories. But please, not like the Festival Plaza, never again.
Peacocks are really beautiful birds. Makes you wonder why there hasn't been a Pokemon based off one yet. It could make for a really good regional bird, or just a standalone Pokemon. I've seen a lot of really good Fakemon based off Peacocks, and if fans can make stuff that looks this good, I'm sure Game Freak could too.
The starters are iconic to set the scene for the new region. However, I think it would be iconic in itself to have a region where you can pick from more than 3 starters, and I think it would just sort of add a different layer of complexity and conversation around the starter Pokemon.
Have you ever heard of the Longisquama? It's an extinct reptile that was known for having several integumentary structures on its back. If you ask me, this could make a really good basis for a Pokemon design. I've seen some clever Fakemon for this animal too, and given its extinction, it could make for a really good fossil Pokemon.
Starters with different types. It still needs to be the triangle of strengths and weaknesses like we have with grass, water, and fire, but just not those 3 types.
Just like a Pokemon, the experience share has undergone quite a bit of evolution. In Gens 1 through 5, it was a held item that could only affect one Pokemon at a time. In Gens 6 and 7, it was a key item that affected every Pokemon in your party. And in Gen 8, it was an unchangeable gameplay mechanic. While a lot of people like the experience share, there are some who don't. So to accommodate the people who don't like it, it should really be changed back to the way it was in Gen 6 and 7. You know, optional.
More options that change the story. Yes, we sometimes have some dialogue where they ask you 2 questions or you have 4 or 5 options to choose from, but it doesn't actually change the plot of the story. It still takes you towards the same goal, and I want to see a bit of change in that.
Triple battles. You know, where you battle with 3 Pokemon at once, and flying types are broken as hell. They debuted in Black and White, but were cut in Sun and Moon. I've always thought they were pretty fun, so it would be cool to have them back. I wasn't that crestfallen without them, but regardless, let's just have them back. Why not, Game Freak?
Rotation battles to return. Yeah, you probably knew this was coming after the triple battle point. I just think that having more options to battle in different ways always just adds to the depth of a Pokemon game and definitely the fun of competitive, and it would just be good to see more variety in the types of battles that you can do in Pokemon.
Tyranitar and Metagross. What do these 2 Pokemon have in common? They're the only pseudo-legendaries who are not dragon types. Nothing against all the other PLs or the dragon type, since they're all awesome. I'm just saying it would be even more awesome if we had more with types other than dragon. Look, I get it. Dragons are supposed to be these overpowered, special monsters, but that shouldn't mean we can't have other pseudos of different types.
More NPCs to have more relevant information. When you go into a town and there's a bunch of trainers en route, whatever number, it would be good if they say actually relevant things, whether that's about the environment, the Pokemon that's around, anything that sort of builds the world as being more realistic. It would just be good for them to just up their writing in that particular aspect.
If there's one Pokemon I hear all the time is deserving of a new evolution, it's definitely Dunsparce. Dunsparce is a bee-snake Pokemon who not a lot of people seem to like very much. It's hardly ever talked about, and I would say one of the more forgettable Gen 2 Pokemon. However, its design leaves much potential for an awesome evolution, or at the very least, a Mega Evolution. I'm thinking maybe a Dragon type. Just look at this amazing fan art. Let's have it, Game Freak!
It was great in Arceus how you could have all the different Pokeballs, and it added a new sort of collector's aspect to it. And then of course in BDSP where we could collect and change the ball capsule with that sort of mini game. And I think it would be great to have different balls that could go to specific types, like an air ball that works really well for flying types, or Pokemon that live in certain habitats. Just more of that, because that's just super cool.
Weather Ball is a unique move that changes type and gains power depending on the weather. It's very useful for weather teams, but only if the user is a better special attacker, since, you know, it's a special attack. If there were a physical version of this move, like, say, Weather Punch or something, you wouldn't be forced to have to use a special attacking Pokemon in case using physical attacks suits you better.
It would be amazing to have different routes sort of expand on one side, because now it's evening and the shadows cast a new area that you can't have seen before, and new Pokemon come out, or even different times of the week or seasons. And I know they did a lot of season work in Sword and Shield, which I really enjoyed, and I would love to see that more.
Hidden Power is a great move. Seeing as it didn't come back in Sword and Shield, I really hope it comes back for Scarlet and Violet. It's a universal move, and it can give any Pokemon access to any type besides Fairy. They should fix that too, which can allow for better weakness coverage. But like with Weather Ball, it only accommodates special attackers, so a physical version would be nice.
So we're getting a lot more variety in terms of backgrounds when we battle Pokemon in the overworld or enter trainer battles, but I want to see more of that in online battles, or just generally in the competitive scene, and not just like the last few years where it's just sort of one color background or these really bad little animations in the background of people cheering.
You know how some starters are better physical attackers than special attackers and vice versa? And you know how the ultimate moves are special attacks? I'm not sure how many people actually like using these moves, but either way, it would be nice if there were physical variants of them, so the starters with better physical attack stats can make use of them too.
I just think that the gym leaders need to be more challenging in the game overall, not just have this one Pokemon that sometimes gives you a bit of trouble. In Pokemon Ultra Moon, I found it really frustrating that some of the trainers that were your sort of ace trainers, so after you've defeated all the trainers on the route, then you fight that particular trainer, they were more powerful than some of the Alolan captains.
You know the pledge moves that were introduced in Black and White? Yeah, you probably know where I'm going with this. There should be physical versions of them, so, you know, the starters who are better physical attackers can make use of them too. Again, I'm not sure how popular these moves actually are, but regardless of that, there really should be physical variants.
Better battle animations. I like the turn-based combat in Pokemon, but come on, I'm sure we can get a little bit more movement happening just to make it a bit more action-packed. I want to see that Vine Whip hit the other Pokemon. I want to see a quick attack, the Pokemon running forward and actually hitting the other Pokemon. I want to just see more of the things happening on screen.
Psyshock, Foul Play, and Body Press. These are all unique moves that use unusual stats to calculate damage. Psyshock is a special attack that does physical damage, Foul Play uses the target's attack stat to calculate damage instead of defense, and Body Press uses the user's defense stat to calculate damage instead of attack. Moves like these allow you to circumvent being in trouble against Pokemon with stats that would normally give them an advantage. That's why we should have more of them, like say, a physical attack that does special damage.
Adding a new type. This was something that hasn't been done too often in Pokemon. We had Dark and Steel being introduced in Gen 2, and then more recently the Fairy type, which really shook up a lot of the new generations in terms of competitive and revisiting older Pokemon. And I think it would be good to do that again sometime soon. Maybe introducing something like a Light type.
Freeze Dry is just a regular Ice-type attack, except for the part where it's super effective on water. This is useful for Ice types who normally struggle against water types. If only there were more attacks like this, of different types of course, it could allow other types to have an attack that works for both stab and weakness coverage. For example, I'm thinking a Fire-type attack called Evaporate, which would be super effective on water.
Mythicals to have their own storyline. So this can be a fun way to add more to the post-game, as well as just make mythical Pokemon more interesting to catch. In the past, mostly mythicals like Darkrai have been through distribution, but I think it would be great to actually integrate new puzzles, new areas, and have the prize at the end be the mythical, like they did the Delta episode in ORAS. Let's have more of that.
Flying Press is a fighting type move, but it also deals flying type damage. This changes up its battle properties quite a bit, which under the right circumstances could make it a better attack to use over a regular fighting type attack, if only more than just one Pokemon could learn it. So other types should have attacks like this too. I'm thinking like maybe a grass type attack called Poison Ivy, which would also deal poison type damage.
Dual type moves. One that is both ground and water, like Muddy Water. So not like Flying Press, where it only has one type but it has damaging properties of the flying type as well. Actually dual type moves.
Take a good look at the Machop line. Don't they just look so tough and macho and manly? These guys must be male only, right? Wrong. Sorry if this might sound sexist or something, but if you ask me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, these Pokemon look way too masculine to be able to be female, so I think there should be a much more feminine-looking evolution for Machoke. Female only, of course. Glalie is another Pokemon who, despite being more on the masculine-looking side, can be either gender, but we eventually got the female-only Frostlass, for, I'm guessing, that reason. So let's have a female counterpart for Machamp, Game Freak.
Battle facilities that are themed to the previous regions during the game. So this is separate to a battle frontier. This would just be really cool to see some other trainers that we've already encountered without them influencing the story too much.
Leavanny, a Pokemon based on a nanny, a Pokemon whose Japanese name contains the Japanese word for mother, a Pokemon who, let's face it, looks pretty feminine, so it must be female only, right? Wrong again. This case is even worse than the Machop line, since the Sewaddle line has a 50-50 gender ratio. I don't really know what I would do for a male-only Swadloon evolution. Maybe a businessman or a superhero or something? Well, I'm sure Game Freak could come up with something. Just think of how the Ralts line, who also look very feminine but can be either gender, was eventually given the male-only Gallade. So, in my opinion, the Sewaddle line should follow suit.
I would really like to see Rotom having a few more forms. Maybe a jackhammer that could be electric ground, a chainsaw which could be electric steel, or maybe even an acid sprayer being electric poison.
Take a nice good look at the Timberline. Don't they just look so manly and... Oh, forget it. You know where I'm going with this. Just like with the Machop line, these Pokemon, despite how masculine they look, can be female. So yes, we should have a female-only, more feminine-looking split evolution for Girder too. I guess this case isn't quite as bad as with the Machop line, since, in my opinion, they look more masculine than the Timberline. But even so, I still maintain that both should have, well, you know.
One of my favorite aspects of original Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald was the underwater exploration. Other than it being amazing music, it was just an interesting element that we hadn't seen, and they redid it very well in ORAS as well. Just sort of making a bit more of a 3D landscape to the places that we can explore would be cool.
Mr. Mime, Mr. Rhyme, and Sirfetch'd. What do these three Pokemon have in common? Their names all contain male honorifics, but despite that, they can be female. However, unlike the Pokemon who look a lot more like one gender but can be either, this one can't necessarily be solved with a new evolution or form, since the problem only happens in certain languages. So what they could do instead is maybe give females different names, like Miss Mime, Miss Rhyme, and Madam Fetched? And just spitballing here.
Some of my favorite Pokemon ended up having Mega Evolutions. It was great revisiting old Pokemon that maybe didn't have as much of the limelight. For example, Mawile, when it became a Mega Mawile, it was just such a powerhouse. It got the fairy typing, and it just added a different aspect to Pokemon that we hadn't seen before. And I understand that something like Mega Evolution and Z-moves and all of that stuff is very much particular to their region to give a bit of presence to that generation of games, but bring back Mega Evolution, please!
When you think of Sword and Shield, what's the first change those games made that comes to mind? I'm sure most people would say the Dexit. You know, no more national decks. We all knew it was gonna happen eventually, but that doesn't make it suck any less. I know it's a lot to ask, but come on, Game Freak, please give us back the national decks.
Z-moves would be interesting to see return, but not in the interesting choreography kind of way. Just moves that can sometimes be used and sometimes not with a certain item. So maybe a different spin on it.
Another change Sword and Shield made was leaving out some moves. While there are some that I didn't care to see not return, it would still be cool to have them all back. Well, except the one-hit KO moves. Really, why do these moves even exist? They're cheap as hell, and much less, why were they brought back in Sword and Shield? Just ditch these cheap-ass moves already!
Bring back the Battle Frontier. It's a feature that we always enjoy, and every time they try to bring it back, it just seems like they bring it back half-heartedly or not quite to the extent. Just Battle Frontier. It was good. Having all the different facilities that had unconventional ways of battling or hiring out different teams or going through different puzzles, it just added such an interesting spin on the game. Just bring it back.
I know I said this list was in no particular order, but this is the feature I most want to see in future Pokemon games. Evolutions for all the remaining types. While some evolutions are better than others, they're all, in their own ways, very cool. And Eevee is one of the most popular Pokemon ever, so if you ask me, every type should have an evolution. Although, there are some types that I would be more excited to see get an evolution than others. Some examples being Poison, Steel, Flying, and Dragon. Come on, Game Freak, just do it. You know you want to. And that's it, our list of the 40 features we most want to see in future main series Pokemon games. Thanks a lot for your help, Mia.
No worries. Viewers, be sure to check out the collaboration we did over on my channel if you haven't seen it already.
If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. Also, be sure to let us know some features from your wish list down in the comments. And for more Pokemon videos like this, please subscribe. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. Cacophonous Corphish and Mia Lodic out.